Hello, Jordan.
What's up, Michael?
You know what? I'm going to turn off this fireplace because I bet David... Yeah.
Let's keep that in there. You have an electric fireplace?
It's a one-take show. Yeah.
Is it real fire?
I don't believe so, but, you know, I'm not...
Does it actually get hot?
Yeah, of course.
Well, then what would it be if it's not real fire?
I have no idea.
So you just hit a button and fire pops up?
Yeah, it's a light switch. And the pilot light goes on and yeah. So yeah, I guess it is.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Man, could you imagine if our ancestors, like, you just
flick a switch
this and then
fire.
Yeah. How are you doing, bro?
I'm good, man.
I really thought you were going to go in on Bosu balls at the beginning of this conversation after our talk last night.
No, I'm saving that for next week. I'm not as passionate about it right now.
Oh, okay. You're more passionate about something else for today?
Yeah.
Okay. Sick.
All right. I'm thinking of an exercise.
Okay.
Go.
That's it? Just go?
Uh-huh.
Lower body or upper body?
Upper.
Pull or push?
Push.
Wow, but there's sort of a caveat to this. Those watching the video pod could see the hesitation that there's like a...
I had to think about it. That's what that was.
Okay, but it's a push.
I believe it's a push.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yes,
body,
it's a push. It's a push.
Upper body push. Horizontal or vertical?
It doesn't really apply.
Interesting. Is this an exercise that you do a lot?
Not as often as I should.
An upper body pressing exercise that isn't either vertical or horizontal.
It's horizontal. It's a horizontal press.
Is it on a bench or freestanding?
The variation I'm thinking of is on a bench.
Incline dumbbell bench press?
No.
You say it's horizontal?
I think so.
Man, this is getting a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I know. I started the segment with the tough one. If you narrow down the body part, that's going to help a lot.
Shoulders?
No.
Pecs?
Nope.
Triceps?
Mm-mm.
We've got an upper body pressing exercise that is neither...
Don't get hooked on pressing. I think technically
well, I have to be hooked on pressing.
Technically, it's a press rather than a pull. Like, physiologically, technically. But don't get wrapped up in that.
Okay.
Keep thinking of body parts above the waist.
Is this a core exercise?
Mm-mm.
Traps?
Yes. Arguably. Yeah, definitely some.
Scat push-up?
No.
Man.
We're doing this lying down, remember?
Oh, yeah. Lying down on the bench. Lying on a bench. Interesting. Bro, I have no idea. Is this a strength exercise or mobility exercise? Strength. Am I going to be pissed when I figure this out?
No, you're going to be like, why'd you pick that one? Like, that was so hard.
That's what she said. Tell me, what is it?
No. That's not how these things work. Keep going. Come on, persevere.
Bilateral?
Nope.
Unilateral?
Nope.
Well, what the fuck?
Bilateral. Keep naming body parts. That's how you're going to get there.
All right. It's not pecs.
Nope.
It's not shoulders.
It's not these. It's not these.
It's not triceps.
Nope.
It's a little trap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like limited because it's a press. So I'm not going to say like rhomboids.
Well, correct. It's not rhomboids.
Lats.
Nope. Higher.
Cheekbone. Cheeks.
Lower.
Neck.
Ah. Yes.
The iron neck? But this is not a...
Nope.
Hold on. Chin tucks?
Not quite.
Bro, what is it?
We're lying on a bench and we're training the neck, and it's more of a push than a pull. You can ask equipment related questions too.
Dumbbells?
Nope.
Bands?
Nope.
Body weight?
Nope.
I don't know, bro. Tell me.
we're finishing this segment.
Finishing it with you telling me what this exercise is.
Come on, Jordan. You got this. We're lying on a bench. We're not
what
using
an obscure exercise to begin this segment with.
I don't know. I actually just programmed it for a client yesterday.
Is the neck lying off of the bench, or is your neck supported on the bench?
The neck is unsupported.
On an incline?
You could do it on an incline, or you could do it flat.
For some reason in my head, I had put it on an incline. Just neck extensions?
What kind of neck extensions?
Are you prone?
Yes.
You're prone on the bench.
Yes.
With are you using one of those like chains that you wrap around your head?
No.
Or a barbell plate behind your head?
Plate.
A plate neck extensions?
Yes. Line plate loaded neck extensions.
Man, you really, and this is a push. Dude, no, that's a pull.
But then you think neck flexion is a push? You think this is a push? I think this is a pull, and I think this is a push. Just like elbow flexion is a pull.
I think this is a pull, and this is, I think they're both pulling.
They can't both be pulling because you're doing the opposite direction with the C-spine.
I think they're both pulling because each one is, you're getting a concentric contraction on each one.
But when you do elbow extension, you have a concentric and it's a push on the tricep.
Shit, which one would be a push and pull?
I think extension is push.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one.
All right, I got another one. You think of people might hate this episode. This might be their least favorite episode. I want you to think of a food.
Okay.
You got it?
You want me to think of a food?
Mm-hmm.
Any food. Anything that I can eat.
Yeah, well, don't.
Is it?
I know. I set the bar.
You just did a really fucking difficult one, bro.
Make it something I know. Don't make it like, don't make it something super
I'm going to use like
obscure.
a Middle Eastern spice.
That's literally where.
Okay, I'll think of a food. Okay, got it. This is a really easy one, by the way.
Okay, good. Are you a fruit? What?
The way you phrased the question just made me think back to when I was like a little kid outside Boston. What are you, a fruit? You a fruit cake?
No.
No, it's it is not a fruit.
Okay, you can't change it. You can't change it.
Okay, I'm not changing it.
Are you a vegetable?
Stop asking if I'm a fruit or vegetable. I you know what I am.
That's how the game is played. Are you a vegetable?
I didn't ask. What are you, a lying neck extension?
All right.
No.
Is it a fruit? Is it a vegetable?
No,
is it a vegetable?
It's not a fruit.
Is
no,
it a
not a vegetable.
Is it animal based?
Of course. Speaking with the king of protein over here.
Do you have any do you have greater than or equal to 1 gram of carbohydrate per serving?
No.
Okay. Are you poultry?
Yes.
Are you a rotisserie chicken?
No.
Is it rotisserie chicken?
No, it is not.
It's poultry though. Is it chicken breast?
I would imagine that there is chicken breast in this specific food, yes.
Oh, you went with a dish? Is this a multi-ingredient thing?
No. You asked the question like greater than or equal to 1 gram of carb per serving. This is not a whole dish. This is one food, but it's a very specific food. There's
one food that you imagine has chicken in it?
No, chicken breast specifically. I would imagine it's all chicken breast, but I can't be 100% positive.
Chicken breast.
I can't be 100% positive that this specific food is all chicken breast. Sort of like you couldn't be 100% sure if it's a push or a pull. I can't be 100% sure if this is 100% chicken breast.
Chicken.
There's definitely, it's definitely chicken, but it's more specific than just chicken.
Israeli chicken.
You know that Israeli chicken, you never know if it's the actual breast or not. No, nothing to do with Israeli. But it's chicken, but there's a specific chicken.
Based on how it's seasoned?
That's part of it. That's definitely part of it, but you don't have to guess the seasoning.
I wasn't like line neck extension with a 5-second eccentric.
No. That's not what this is. This is a specific meal that you can...
No, food, not meal. Food.
I know, it is a food. It's a food. It's a food. You actually introduced me to this food. As a big hint.
Oh. Chick-fil-A grilled nuggets.
There it is, baby. That was the hint that gave it to you. Yeah.
Right, that's pretty good.
I don't know. Is it all chicken breast? I don't know.
That's pretty good.
I think so because it's pretty lean.
Yeah. I assume it is too. That was good.
That was a good one, right?
Yeah. Good start.
Yeah.
What else is happening?
My wife and I toured a school today for our daughter because we're looking to buy a house within the next few years, and like we want to make it our forever house. And so we're looking for school districts, and so we went to a school in the Dallas area today, which was very, very, the first time as an adult going back into a school and seeing all this stuff. It was quite a surreal experience.
Was it a winner?
Yeah, we loved it. We really loved it. You know what they had that I think like basically every school should have is like unbelievable security. Like the security at this school was insane. Like when I went to school, it was an open campus and basically anybody could walk in, and like it's like, yeah, actually there weren't even security guards at my school, but like even if there were, anyone could still walk in, right? And it would be up to the security guard to stop them. Like at this school, there's a gate, there's one entrance and one exit, and there's a gate that you have to go through, and a huge tall gate to get in. Because there's multiple buildings on the campus, every building is required like key card entrance that you have to use to get in and out of the buildings, and multiple security guards. And I was just like, man, this is incredible to see that. And it's actually interesting because in Israel, that's how the schools are. Like every school, there's a gate, there's security guard at the gate to get in and out, like all that stuff. I was like, man, I love having that there. So yeah, that was a big win.
Public or private school?
This one was private, which holy shit, private schools are expensive. I did not realize that.
Like K through 12 or just elementary?
K through 12. Actually, lower than K.
Ah.
They have stuff starting from 3 months, which I don't think we would do.
Starting from 3 months?
From 3 months, you can get your child in there a couple days a week. And
Wow.
And yeah, which is, I think it's like daycare, but they have, they'd probably be offended if I said that because they take it very seriously and they have a lot of learning stuff that goes into it. But yeah, I also have that weird idea in my head of I don't want my kid to be a private school kid, because I was not a private school kid. Yeah. So that's definitely in my head as something. And also the sports were a little bit lackluster, which I was not super happy about.
At this school?
Yeah, at this school in particular.
Got it. Not their main focus.
Yeah, not their main focus. Good theater program it looked like, but
yeah, the private versus public school, if you're in a position where you're fortunate enough to like be able to make that decision, is an interesting one. And we'll cross that bridge. Although apparently you'll be crossing it sooner, potentially. You
know what I don't like about uniforms? So this school has uniforms from I think kindergarten through 8th grade, and then in high school you're no longer required to wear the uniform, but like there's a dress code that you have to apply. I like the dress code far better than uniforms. And I know like one of the arguments for uniforms is, well, now kids don't need to worry about like having the best style or whatever. Like everyone just wears the same thing. But I feel like on multiple levels, number one is that's such a basic level of understanding that not not everything is going to be equal. Not everyone's going to have the same thing. And facing that early on, like, well, why do they get to wear this, but I don't have this, mom? Or why don't I have this, dad? It's like, well, because we're not spending that much money on that clothing for you. Like that's their parents are more than welcome to do that if they want, but that's not how we do it in our house. Like I feel like those conversations are going to be lost, right? And then there's also I feel like so much is, especially at a younger age, so much is expressed through how you dress. And being able to have that autonomy to choose, well, I'm going to wear this or I'm going to wear this. I feel like that's an important skill to get early on. So I don't like the uniforms. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like the quality of education is the main driver in my mind, and how, like, based on where you live, how good is the public school system there? If it's really good, cool. If it's not, that's when I would start to consider something else. And, who knows? Like that changes over time, obviously.
A big one is also honestly just safety.
Yeah.
Right? It's just safety in the school. That's a big one.
Yeah, definitely. Which I think is probably correlated with quality of education,
yeah,
unfortunately.
Of course. Yeah.
At least in, around where I grew up, it was.
Yeah.
Well, nice. So is that, so that's a real contender?
Yeah, it's a real contender. We're going to visit public schools as well, and we're still trying to figure out what area we want to buy a house in. So we're not 100% sure yet, but yeah, just very early in the process.
Nice, man. That's exciting.
What's up with you?
Chilling. Rest day. Getting work done, weekly podcasts. Who would have thought that we just hammer episode after episode every single week consistently?
I knew it.
Did you?
I knew we would. Oh, yeah. Video pods I didn't actually expect to happen. But, Oh, by the way, if you're not following us on social media, make sure you do that. We're posting every day on social media. Daily uploads on social media. What are our social media handles, Mike?
Personal Trainer Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook.
Love that.
Twitter.
Not active on there yet, but we have it.
We haven't figured out a Twitter strategy. Yeah. You don't have to be everywhere at once.
It's not that we haven't figured out the strategy. It's more just like, I'm not spending the time on it yet.
Well, and just for the other places, we're reposting.
Yeah.
Whereas that doesn't make as much sense on Twitter to just throw real style in a tweet for your entire feed.
You're wearing one of my favorite, if not my favorite sweatshirt of yours right now.
Mr. Solzhenitsyn.
The line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. Man.
I think that's partly paraphrased too, where he said like, the line between good and evil does not go down political lines or country lines, or there might even be one or two other things, but through the heart of the individual.
That was part of what Lex Friedman and Ben Shapiro spoke about in that podcast you sent me.
Oh, interesting. Did you watch? I hadn't even started it.
No, I haven't watched the whole thing, but they one of the things that Ben Shapiro touched on, which I think is such an important discussion, he said that people have this idea that if they were alive or lived in an area during a time of serious oppression, that like they would have been the person to stand up and speak out. And they also assume that people who are who have done really bad things, like people who we look at as like evil, are just like a completely different type of person, and they couldn't imagine that they would do that same type of thing. And it's like, that's just so far out of reality. When you're surrounded by that, and your livelihood depends and your survival depends on essentially conforming to what the societal norms are.
Yep.
Regardless of whether or not you think they're okay, 99.99999% chance you're doing the exact same shit that you look back on in history and can't believe people did.
Ordinary Men, right? Isn't that the name of that book?
Yeah, great book.
Yeah. It's easy to judge other times. I mean, that one's particularly outrageous, but if you take any example, it's easier to judge other times in history through the lens of today's standards and morality. And
well, that one as well, even like it's easy to judge. Like, I could not imagine. That's why it's crazy. I think some of the greatest heroes of the Holocaust and World War II are the people who were not Jewish, but took Jews into their homes and hid them and tried to save. Like, those are some of the greatest. Like, they weren't Jewish. They had no reason to do it other than what they felt was deeply right, and put them and their entire families at risk, and often they were killed because of it. It's like, those are like the ultimate heroes.
yeah.
All they had to do was just conform and put on a face and do what everyone else was doing. And they deliberately went out of their way and risked their lives and lives of their entire family to try and save people who were innocent. And it's like, those were so few and far between, but those were like the ultimate. The people who were, joined the army or joined the stormtroopers, whatever it is, even if they didn't believe it, they were like, well, I've got to do it in order to stay alive and to keep my family alive. It's like, that's what the vast majority of people would have done, like, by far.
And it almost takes a level of arrogance to think, oh, if I was there, I would have done this impossibly courageous thing and gone against everything, like chosen the right path rather than the safe one, even though it puts my life and my family's life at risk. Like,
yeah,
it makes it even more impressive.
You'll like this. In the Batman movie, The Joker, do you remember the scene when the Joker gets those two guys in the room and he's like, all right, I'm going to bring one of you on, but I only have room for one more. And this is when tryouts are. And then he like leaves them the sharpened stick. He's like, basically saying, you're going to fight to the death. But then they immediately cut the scene. So you don't actually see if they fought to the death or not. But it's like that type of situation where you're best friends with someone, potentially. You're best friends. You work together. It's like, okay, but only one of you can live right now. Do you fight to the death with that person? Or do you, like, what do you do? Right? These are the types of situations where why I love that quote on your sweatshirt, because it's not black and white. There's so much that goes into what we do and why. And when we're put in these difficult situations, you might make the choice that you're probably not going to be the most proud of.
Yeah, 100%. Want to fire up some questions?
Yeah, I can fire. You want to fire up some questions, or you want me to?
I got one email question that we can lead with.
Okay.
And it is from Alyssa, who says, hello, Jordan and Mike. I love the podcast and hear you loud and clear on getting an in-person internship to gain experience. I'm currently a full-time accountant in San Diego, California, and I want to find a part-time internship. I've looked for jobs online, but I don't see many in this area. How would you suggest I go about finding an in-person gym internship? Through social media, keep looking online, driving to gyms to see if they need an intern. I do not want to be an online fitness coach tomorrow. At this point, I just want to get my foot in the door to see if this is a career that I would enjoy. I certainly don't want to be an accountant any longer than I have to. Thank you for all your help. Thank you for all the free, helpful content you put out. I look forward to listening to the podcast weekly.
Love that. Thank you for the kind words. There are two ways that I did it when I got my internships. The first one, when I was a teenager, is I was really interested in kettlebells specifically. My wrestling coach was super interested in kettlebells, and I was like obsessed with kettlebells. And at that point, at 14 years old, I was like, kettlebells are the best. these things are the best. Like nothing is better than kettlebells. So I searched kettlebell gym near me, and I happened to find one a couple towns over. And then I just looked at their website, looked at their pictures. I didn't know what I was seeing. And I just wrote them an email and said, I'll take the trash out. I'll clean the floors. Let me just come and learn from you and work for free. And they took me in. And that work turned out to be one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. So you could just Google certain types of, like, let's say you're really interested in powerlifting. You could Google search powerlifting gym near me, or I don't know, strength training gym near me. I wouldn't do it at probably like a chain gym. I wouldn't do it at like a New York Sports Club or a LA Fitness. These probably, not to say there aren't some great individual coaches there, but as a company, I highly doubt they have opportunities like that. And you just never know who you're going to get. Generally, you'll find better coaching on a whole and more opportunities for internships in more specialized and private facilities, which are the gyms that I worked in and interned in. So you could Google search that, or using social media, finding gym owners that really resonate with you and coaches who really resonate with you. I mean, one of the things now that, might be a little bit different is there are so many more independent coaches and trainers who maybe they work out of their garage, or they have their own facility where they coach a couple people. Like if there's someone that you follow who maybe they don't have their own gym and a whole company, but they're a great coach and they coach people out of their garage, reaching out and saying, hey, listen, I know you coach people out of your garage. I would love to be able to come and work with you and do, like, I don't know, get you coffee, or like clean your gym, or whatever it is, and like just be available to you so I can learn from you while you coach. That might be a good option as well.
100%. You're in addition to what you just said, at a commercial gym, you're also less likely to get a level of support and mentorship and guidance, and like it's much more structured than a private facility. One of the other key things you hit on there, which is huge, and which a lot of people, I think, historically just have an expectation for getting paid. You're literally, your payment is the experience you're getting there. So go in willing to work hard for free, and however many hours a week you can. Alyssa, obviously, it sounds like you're going to continue to work full time at your accounting job, but I would go in and I would say, literally, I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to sweep the floors. I'm willing to go get you lunch. I'm willing to do anything that'll make your life easier. And if you, in a short amount of time of doing that, it's very likely that you're going to get more opportunities and be in a position to, have more and more responsibility. But don't be like, I think of D-Rock, Gary's longtime videographer and editor, who started by literally doing free pro bono projects for Gary just to get his attention. So he was sinking hours and hours and hours into making these like movie-like, 5-minute videos for Gary that he knew that he would like, to get his attention, to get the opportunity to get hired, to then have a salary, to then progress in his career. But there's a mentality that, don't undersell yourself, or make sure to charge what you're worth, or don't do free work. Like, free work is the best way to get your foot in the door.
And going off what you're saying, I think that most people massively overvalue how much they're worth. Yeah. Like I see so many people walking into this being like, oh, well, I should be getting paid more. I should get, like, why? Why should you be getting paid? Just because like you think you deserve to be paid more? Like, I don't think that, just because you think you deserve to be paid more, I don't think that. So it's like a lot of coaches are like, oh, like I'm not getting paid enough. I'm like, okay, raise your prices. And if people don't pay it, then clearly you don't deserve it.
Like, that's the beauty of the free market. It's like the market tells you, not what you're worth as a human, as an individual, but in a business sense, and in that supply and demand curve, the market literally tells you what you're worth.
Yeah. And people are like, well, I'm a human, I'm worth more. So hold on. Your salary, regardless of your salary, doesn't tell you your worth as a human being. Like, that salary is irrelevant from your worth as a human. But in terms of your hourly rate, or what you're worth, like, that's very much dependent on on how many people know your knowledge and care about your knowledge, and how much time you've invested thus far. So it's the idea that, you should be getting paid for an internship. I know, I will say, for some people, it's not realistic to do an unpaid internship just based on where you are in life. And that's totally fine. But whether or not it's realistic for you in your current life situation is a different question than whether or not you're worth getting paid, what you should be getting paid for that job. It's two different discussions.
And for that reason, it's always been my thought process to get yourself in a position where you can afford to take an unpaid internship for the opportunity that it provides you. I mean, this question hits home for me. I was an accountant for 2 years out of college. I hated every single day of work. And during that time period, and I've told the story countless times, but the savings that you can accumulate is going to buy you time to take a shot at being at your fitness career, let's say, or any new career. But if you don't accumulate that savings, then you're going to have to continue to work your day job. You're going to have less time to focus on your thing. And there's pros and cons, right? Like, work 3-4 hours a day at night slowly over time and build on the side. It'll take longer, but you keep the stability and the security. And if you do like it and it's going well, then you can quit your full-time job. Like, that's an option too. But if you really want to take a shot at something new, knowing that you're going to have to take a massive drop down in salary, spending this time saving as much as possible, reducing as much unnecessary life expenses as possible so that you can save, so that you have more time to take a shot at what you really want to do is so important. And that means all the cliche stuff of, like, buying new purses or expensive clothes, or like going out to expensive meals, or going out partying and having $200 bar tabs. Like, all of these things need to get cut out in this micro window in life so that you can take the shot. You don't have to live like that frugally forever, but for this time period, it's so important.
Bro, who I really like is Dave Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to him yesterday, and he said something so interesting about finance and wealth.
A YouTube clip or like a full podcast?
Instagram.
Okay.
So he does have a great podcast, but I was listening to a reel that was a clip that I believe was from one of his podcasts. And he said something so interesting about wealth and about finance over the long term. He said from his own experience working with many, many, many people, he's like, there is no question there's a clearly direct relationship between how long you're planning ahead and how much money you have. And so he said this, he said, the people who are planning for next weekend all the time, who are planning for Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
mm-hmm.
they just, without question, on a general basis, have less money than people who are planning like a year, 3 years, 5 years ahead. He was like, when you live for the weekend and the extent of your forward thinking is what's going on this weekend,
mm-hmm.
you're going to be spending more money, you're going to be wasting money, you're going to be buying things you don't need. But when your forward thinking and planning goes, well, what about a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, those people almost always have greater wealth and greater finances because they're not spending money on stupid shit. It's I thought that was a really good way to put it in terms of just practical thinking of, well, how far ahead are you planning? Are you planning till this Friday, or are you planning until 3 years from now? And sort of like with your accounting, it's 2 years. You were saving for those entire 2 years so you could build up. Your planning was not for that coming weekend. Your planning was 2 years in advance or years in advance so you could get enough savings to then comfortably leave and have some wiggle room. Mm-hmm. So that like fits in line perfectly with what he was saying. And I like him a lot.
I think I've told you before that the way you felt the first time you heard Dale Carnegie's book is exactly how I felt the first time I heard 3 Dave Ramsey clips. I was like, yeah, makes sense. Like, yeah, seems like common knowledge.
Common knowledge. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that's really good. And the more you're thinking ahead, it's there's almost a degree of like sacrifice and trying to minimize impulsiveness to it too, giving up short-term pleasures for long-term, deeper meaning or something that's more important to you. But it's difficult. Like after a long, stressful week, and if you're coping, or if your like, form of enjoyment is going out and having a bunch of drinks and going like whatever, it's hard to not do that. But by giving that up, you're going to benefit in the long term.
It's interesting. So I just sort of had this thought in my head. I think when people focus on short-term pleasures, they lose long-term stability. But when they focus on long-term stability, they might not have as many short-term pleasures, but they do have that longer-term stability and more freedom. Mm-hmm. So it's like either you're going to have more short-term pleasures, but that's going to lead to longer-term instability and being unsure of what's going to happen, what's going to come, what are you going to have available to you. But when you can sort of forego, not necessarily all short-term pleasures, but when you can forego them more often, you create more long-term stability with yourself and your finances.
Absolutely. That's 100% correct. Not to mention, pleasure is good in moderation, but excess of pleasure is just like gross.
Hedonism.
Yeah. And even like a degree of hedonism is, I don't know, in my opinion, leads to like good balance, right? Like whether that's my mind goes to like desserts or some kind of like
I knew it. I knew that you were gonna be like chocolate chip cookies is where your mind goes to. I fucking like, that's your hedonic activity is like having 2 cookies.
Absolutely not, because I've never had 2 cookies before. I've never had 2 chocolate chip cookies. I've had 0 plenty of times, and I've had many plenty of times. But hedonism covers a lot of things. Basically, you don't need to be a saint, but at the same time, too much of it, and I'm not even saying it like ruins your life long term. I'm saying too much short-term pleasure, and you actually lose the satisfaction or the enjoyment of the pleasure. That hedonic adaptation where it just becomes your new norm.
So you said you don't have to be a saint, and then that made me think about a movie I was watching yesterday where they discuss Saint Sebastian. And then I was thinking a whole number of things. But number one, the first question was, do you have like favorite saints? I don't know if that's a stupid question, but are there like certain saints that you look up to more or less, or like they have certain values or things that like that a certain saint that means more to you or you connect more with?
I know nothing of the saints. I know almost nothing. In my limited knowledge, I think that's more exclusive to Catholicism.
Okay. Yeah, because when they spoke about Saint Sebastian, I was like, oh man, I feel like Mike would really like Saint Sebastian.
What was the movie?
It was the movie I was watching last night. It was
the jiu-jitsu one?
Yeah, what did I say the name of that movie was?
Becoming a Born a Champion?
Yeah, Born a Champion. Yeah, he spoke about Saint Sebastian, and from what he said in the movie, I was like, oh, I feel like that would be one of Mike's favorites. But I know, like, I'm pretty sure I see you quote John a lot, Saint John. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up.
Like in our conversations?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, never mind.
Pat was probably, we had some verses from the book of John.
Was John a saint?
You're taking me down like a theology route where I'm actually, you know what? This takes us somewhere perfect. I saw this Ryan Holiday Instagram post that said, remember, you don't have to have an opinion about this. And I think I'm going to start going super hard with I don't knows and then super hard into things that I'm actually knowledgeable about.
Cool.
In life. Because there are so many like realms where I really have no idea. And I'll even get in debates sometimes or conversations. And sometimes I end up adopting a position just because I don't like the other person's position, but I don't really know any, like in politics, especially. Like I'm not watching CNN. I'm not like deep in it. I don't really know what's going on. But then if there's a conversation, I'll like, in either way, sometimes I'll just play devil's advocate, but want to have an argument emotionally, but realistically, I don't know what I'm talking about. And in those and then there's like this expectation that everyone needs to have an opinion, everyone needs to be educated. It's like, well, there's an infinite number of subjects in life, and we can't all be, adequately educated on all topics. So getting back into the habit of being like, I don't know. So to answer your question, I don't really know anything about saints.
Got it. Cool.
I know you're a big Ryan Holiday guy.
I do like Ryan Holiday.
Marcus Aurelius. Epictetus. The Stoics, man. I think
Seneca says.
Yeah. Seneca. I heard him first on the Tim Ferriss podcast in like 2014 or 15. And yeah, he's put out a lot of good and useful stuff over the years.
I have his book right outside in the kitchen. It's the newest book is, I think it's called Discipline is Destiny. I haven't opened it yet. I haven't started reading it, but
reading's so hard.
It's way more difficult now than it used to be.
My phone has ruined my brain.
Yeah, agreed.
Like even in the last 2 years.
Yeah. There's also part of me really struggles just to sit down and read. Mm-hmm. Mainly because like I don't like sitting. And I'm like, I want to be moving. And it's very hard to read and move. Right? Like I would like to be able to bring a book on the treadmill or the elliptical, but I see some people reading books on the elliptical and I don't understand. I'm like, how do you not get seasick? Like that's like the perfect recipe to get like motion sickness. Like how do you, I have trouble reading in one line, staying totally still, never mind moving my entire body in a cyclical fashion, trying to like read across the line. I don't know how they do that.
I don't either.
So that's where the audiobooks help, but I feel like retention is lower with audiobooks.
I agree. And it is for me personally, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's where the overwhelming majority of the books that I've consumed in the last 3 years has been through audiobook, not through sitting down and reading.
Yeah.
And that desire, did you always have that desire to not want to sit still?
My mom always makes jokes because like she always says with my brother, when we were young, when we would go to a restaurant, she was like, my brother Lee could sit down for the entire hour and a half, no problem. She knew with me that from the moment we sat down, she had 15 minutes. And once 15 minutes was up, like I was up and running. So like whether it was in a movie theater or going out to eat, like she had 15 minutes from the moment I sat down until the moment I got antsy and needed to get up. So I think part of me has always been like that. Yeah.
Got it.
Which is probably, neat. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
When you said like I don't even want to, it's not just reading, I don't even want to sit down, I want to move, I immediately went to like genetics and NEAT was the first place my brain went to.
Yeah which like my brother has openly discussed his weight struggles before. Like that has to play a massive factor into it, right? Where it's like has a greater propensity to be able to sit down ever since he was a kid, just genetically. He's just better sitting down. Like he could watch a whole movie from the time he was a little kid, no problem. I really struggled with that when I was younger. Like I needed to be up and moving, which, it's so interesting how like that genetic propensity to have more or less movement can massively impact your weight.
It really is. And to be clear, like that's a fraction of what causes weight gain. And I wasn't stating that as the difference between you and your brother.
No. But it is like, it's a pretty big fraction, to be honest. Like NEAT is a huge portion of metabolism. And like, obviously there are many issues. Like, obviously that's not the only reason, my brother struggled with weight. But like, I just think it's so interesting on a global level to look at, it's much more complex than I think many people realize. And even two people who come from the same parents and have the same overall genetics can still have two very different metabolic makeups, especially from this one factor of non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's just like, it's so interesting to me.
And we used to think that the genetic component of calorie expenditure was baked into BMR. We used to think that some people, like, take two individuals, both same height, both weigh 160. We used to think that if there was a genetic difference, it was driven by a substantial difference in that person's basal metabolic rate. When in reality, and they have done I don't know if there's many, just because there aren't like that many good metabolic ward studies on anything because they're so hard and expensive. But there was one on NEAT and overfeeding where some small percentage of the people, when they were overfed, just like instinctively were bouncing off the walls for the entire duration of the study.
Yeah, like some of the people were like burning 900 calories just from their NEAT, and other people were burning like 200 calories from their NEAT. It's like, it's crazy.
Well, that's the range that I have in mind. I think it was even bigger in this one study, which is wild.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
It's weird because it's not NEAT once it's intentional, right? If you're like, oh, I'm gonna try and do this, then it's like it's not NEAT anymore. Then that's technically exercise. But I do wonder if there are ways to build, if NEAT is purely genetic, or if there are ways to like train the habit, or maybe training the habit just leads to more intentional activity rather than NEAT activity.
Well, so I mean, I think in terms of, I think it plays into both, right? So for example, if there's some aspects of NEAT are like, say, fidgeting. I think fidgeting is far more genetic. Is more like that's just you can't make it a habit to fidget more. I don't think that's realistic. But for example, if before you would, I don't know. As an example, this is off the top of my head. As an example, you hire cleaning people to come and clean your apartment. Well, you would sit and watch the TV, but you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. Now I'm going to clean the apartment. I'm going to do the dishes. I'm going to do all this stuff. Like, well, now you're going to be getting more NEAT in, and it's not. It's deliberate in that like you've stopped hiring these people, but it's still not planned exercise, right? It's still like you're just doing it as part of your daily activities, or taking the trash out, or instead of ordering groceries, you go out and you get them and you walk through the grocery store. Like, these are things that all add up that are not necessarily planned, but unless, I don't know. Yeah.
No,
there are other aspects
points.
like blinking, fidgeting, all that stuff. Like, I think about when I was in school and I got really antsy, I would start fidgeting and I'd start like making jokes, looking around, da 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 da. Like, I was just like, it was really difficult. Whereas there were other kids who could just sit there totally content and fine and just be still and pay attention. And I'd be like, my heart rate would increase. I'd be like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, let's do this. Let's do that. Like, I was like, I'm going to get up. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to see if anyone's in the hallway. It's like super difficult to sit still. So yeah, I think a lot of it can be habitual though.
I wonder for those people who adjust their schedule or make the decision to like clean themselves rather than outsource it, if there's like a total NEAT, like a total daily NEAT that auto regulates. So when they increase their NEAT in one area, it reduces in another area or not.
Like, that's interesting.
Yeah. Like, if it's like, what is causing it? If it's they just fidget and toe tap because that's what they do while they're doing a particular thing, or because they're like out of balance. But when you add the extra 150 calorie expenditure from insert activity, then when they're still doing the same task at their desk later, they fidget a little bit less because it balances out. I don't know.
That's very interesting. That would be cool to see.
I don't know how you would figure that out, nor if.
Yeah. And I would imagine, like, let's say if someone has a certain level of NEAT, but they're not exercising, but then all of a sudden you start having them exercise, I wonder if their NEAT would drop because of that energy expenditure just from exercising.
Dude, when I'm cutting, I just lay around.
Yeah.
Like, my activity in a deficit compared to a surplus is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. You know what's interesting though is watching, because I know living in New York, man, the number of steps we could get just throughout the day regularly was insane on a normal day. And you and I were talking about this recently, how you would easily get 20,000 steps just walking across the city, going, whatever it is. It's like, but once you go to, I don't know, more suburban lifestyle and you don't have to walk as much, I wonder if NEAT then increases in your house, right? Like, now, like, you go into your basement and like you deliberately do these, like, you run around in your basement and you get your cardio in that way, which obviously isn't neat because that's planned exercise, but it's like maybe you just feel like I need to get up and move, which is like because you're not getting it as much as you were in New York.
Absolutely. I think that's correct. I also think the other area that's affected is hunger and caloric intake as a result of expenditure, which when you're not looking or trying to hit specific targets. I remember not only 20 to 25,000 steps a day walking all over the city, but weighted, right? Like with a backpack with a computer and a lot of stuff in it. And so I remember periods of time where I was eating 4,000 calories a day for months and not gaining scale weight.
Yeah.
Which is wild. But then being in a less active, lower total daily energy expenditure lifestyle, my natural hunger and like intuition towards food, if I'm not tracking, I'm not going to be anywhere near 4,000. So the lack of the lower amount of activity actually leads to less hunger and slightly lower intake.
Dude, in regard to hunger, and this is sort of taking a different turn, but what's interesting to me about hunger, especially being in this cut, is when I calorie count, like when I meticulously track calories, I get way hungrier than when I just loosely track and am not like meticulous with it. Which I think is very interesting. If I'm meticulously weighing and measuring, which I'm not doing during this cut, I get so much hungrier. And essentially, like in my brain, the way it works is I start counting down how many calories I have left for the rest of the day, which is like makes it like almost like well, eventually I'm gonna have to stop. It's like the day is sort of revolves around when I have to stop eating. But when I'm more loose with it, like I am during this mini cut, and like I've been for many, many years, it's just like I'm just gonna reduce portion size. I know this is what I normally eat. I'm gonna eat the same foods now, just smaller portion sizes. Hunger is not an issue at all. Like not even remotely an issue. And it really boils down to me for like how meticulous I get with the numbers. And I wonder if that has to do with me not being much of a number person to begin with. Because for you, you're a numbers guy, like, and you're super good with numbers and with math. And I wonder, do you notice hunger increase or decrease based on how strict you're being with tracking your calories or macros?
What you're describing sounds like it's purely psychological, right? It's not. It's not like here's what you're not saying. You're not saying when I meticulously track, I end up eating 200 to 300 calories less a day than when I loosely track. Therefore, I'm hungrier because I'm eating fewer calories. What you're saying is the hyper focus on the perfection of nailing the numbers, like puts you in a different state of mind that leads you to be hungry hungrier later. No, I don't know if it necessarily has to do with, maybe it's that I like numbers. I think part of it is that I'm so okay with overeating one night in a cut that like that pressure of like, I have to be perfect every day. Like I'll allow myself, if I'm super hungry at night, one night in a cut, be like, all right, I'm going to go 500-600 calories over my target. I need something else here before bed and you know, don't make a habit of it. But so maybe like having that like built-in way out, I don't know.
So for me, it's not that. And actually, I think I've figured out what it is. Do you remember the Martin Birkin article years and years and years ago?
Hang on, let me guess. I do. Oh, what is it? No, go ahead.
Boredom is the enemy of hunger. And for me, when I focus on the numbers, I just think about food much more. Food is essentially like always top of mind because like, okay, cool. These are the numbers. This is how much I have left. I've got to think and I've got to plan. And I think because I'm not a numbers guy, it'll take me longer to plan ahead. And I think about food more and it becomes more of like a thing that I have to pay attention to. Whereas for you, because maybe you're better with numbers, it's like, cool, done. All right, awesome, done. Now it's out of mind, out of sight. It's out of sight, out of mind, whatever. I don't have to think about it. So I think it's because when I'm just loosely tracking, and it's not like I have no issue going over my calories one day, and like that's fine, that's no problem. But when I'm just loosely tracking, I'm not super meticulous with it. There's zero issues because it's not always on my mind. But once it becomes like super, hey, all right, let's weigh, let's measure, let's like be way more rigid with it. Now it's always top of mind. And then it becomes more of like, well, now, like, am I actually like if I see a commercial for food, you're going to get hungry just because now you're thinking about food, right? But that's what I think. It's more like because it's more top of mind on a more regular basis throughout the day, hunger will increase just because I'm thinking about it more.
That makes complete sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was my introduction to the marshmallow test too.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Wasn't that in that article?
Yes.
Like
yes,
stop
exactly.
thinking about food so much. That's what's causing you to overeat.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's actually highly plausible and something that I have witnessed in certain, usually more type A clients. The hyper focus on food, measuring, yeah, like you said, just thinking about it consistently for a substantial percentage of the day creates more hunger, or whether it's hunger or just like leads to more overeating.
Which is tough from a coaching perspective because you don't want clients to go through that. But being able to loosely track is, I think, dependent on first tracking meticulously, right? I think like you can't accurately loosely track if you haven't meticulously tracked first.
Absolutely.
So I think even just having a client for 30 days, hey, we're going to meticulously track for these 30 days and then switch into a more sustainable, loose tracking protocol might be a good option for someone who's like, I'm just hungry all the time. I can't stop thinking about food. It's like, okay, cool. We're going to do this for 30 days. Then we're going to switch into something a little bit less rigid. Might be good for that type of person.
100%. If someone comes to you overweight, wants to lose body fat, that's their main goal, and several weeks or even months go by and they're not making progress and they're loose tracking, it's like, okay, we need to tighten things up a little bit. Funny enough, all of the examples rushing to mind right now of the people I just described, those type A people, hyper focused on food, like spending a lot of their day thinking about food, are already lean and like are killing it and don't need to be, so meticulous to make more progress. They actually would benefit psychologically and physiologically from just slightly taking their foot off the gas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Want to fire up an Instagram question?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's fire up an IG queue.
Let's see what we got in there.
I see a lot of these tweet swipe posts lately
in your feed
on Instagram. A lot of people, they'll like do a tweet and then they have a message and then they swipe to the next message, swipe to the next message. So now instead of being limited to one tweet, they're using the swipe post style in order to get multiple tweets across. I see those actually doing very well.
You're gonna
from
play around
a
with
performance perspective. Yeah, it looks like it looks as though this type of post seems to be really favored right now on Instagram, which is nice because it's not just another reel, which those are super heavily favored right now. But I think that they don't want to become TikTok, so I think they're trying to bring back some of the old style, which is good because I just hate making everything a reel. It's just fucking annoying.
Funny enough, that actually, I remember, correct me if I'm wrong here. I remember you stopping making tweet posts on Instagram when they were killing it performance-wise because your sole goal wasn't audience growth at the time. You were less interested in purely just doing the style of content that would maximize organic growth. Are you thinking about doing tweet posts again?
No, I brought it up mainly just because I think it's important for people listening to hear that. Like I'm not in a content creation. Here's the way I think about it. Feed posts, regardless of the post, are designed to grow your audience. You could there is obviously depth that you can create with it, but generally feed is more growth based, and I would say story is more depth based depending on how you use it. And I'm just not in a growth mindset in terms of audience, building a bigger audience. It doesn't, that used to really motivate me. Like building a bigger audience used to be the like main motivation, get more eyeballs, get more attention, attention is the asset, a la Gary. But now it's more just like, I don't need or want more attention. I have plenty of people. Let's just create more depth with them. So I'm far less focused on the feed posts, regardless of the style.
I find this conversation absolutely fascinating. So we can set your Instagram question aside.
Cool.
What are the reasons growth doesn't interest you right now?
Many. Number one, I would say, dude, there's so much. I'll go off in no particular order of importance. Like they're just all aspects. Number one is, it takes a lot of time and effort in order to grow, in order to make these posts deliberately designed to grow. And quite frankly, I don't have the desire to put that time and effort in. It's like, I would rather spend that time hanging out on the floor with my baby, or I don't know, studying jujitsu or doing Q&As or whatever it is, which I know don't have as much growth potential, but this is what I would rather be doing, right? It's like where my preference. So there's that aspect.
Which is so cool, because when the like more is what's valued by so many in society, like you intentionally letting your foot off the gas in one aspect of life and focusing on other things is impressive. And I think probably the right decision.
Yeah. I mean, definitely for me and where I'm at right now, 27-year-old me would be like, loser. But like, there's that. There's also, and you and I talk about this in the mentorship all the time, but if you have 500 followers, that's a lot of eyeballs on you. That's a lot of eyeballs. It's a lot of attention. And you got 500 people following you. I mean, if you stood in a room with 500 people, you'd probably shit your pants if you had to talk in front of all of them. But like, people are like, oh, I just don't have enough followers. I don't have enough. No, it's like, you don't have enough of a good relationship with your followers. And so for me, I have plenty of followers. There's no lack of them at this point. There's like, if I was to talk to everyone individually, it would take me a really long time, like years and years and years and years and years. So at this point, the issue isn't growth. Now I just like, how about I just develop a closer relationship with as many of the people who follow me as I possibly can? So one of the greatest things that I've been finding really over the last few months has been, it's very fun for me to see DMs from people and look back through the history of DMs that they've sent me. Because as I've been more just posting more depth related content, I'll get DMs from people who DM me now, and I'll look back, and the last DM they sent me was like 2018. And they didn't send me anything between 2018 and 2022, which tells me that like maybe they dropped off, or they stopped paying attention, or they stopped seeing my stuff, but now they're back. And maybe now they're getting more invested in me again. It's like there are like lost relationships out there that I can work to rebuild and work to connect with, and as opposed to finding someone new. And this is just basic, business 101. What's more expensive, taking on a new client or working with an existing client? It's like 10 times more expensive to take on a new one. And using that in terms of social media, it's probably way more difficult to take a brand new follower and really get them to trust you versus take someone who already trusted you earlier. They start seeing your content again. It's like they just fall right back into it. So I would rather reach out and connect with the people who maybe just haven't seen my content very much lately, or develop a more in-depth relationship with them. So, and then there's also the side of the idea of fame just is so repelling to me. We're so dialed in. I was literally going to go right there and speculate on another reason. Yeah. It's the idea of having more eyeballs on me is just, I don't want it at all, especially now that I have, a kid and I would love to have more kids and spend more time with my family. You know who I look at? I look at someone like John Berardi.
Mm-hmm.
John Berardi is just a huge inspiration of mine in terms of he sold precision nutrition. And I don't want to sell side fitness, but like this guy built one of the most amazing fitness companies in the world. And he made a post recently about, he's like, yeah, I sold it. And now I spend my days are based around homeschooling my kids. Like that's what I spend my time on. I was like, man,
that's
like,
awesome.
That's awesome. Like this guy has built one of the biggest companies in the fitness industry. And it's like, yeah, now I'm done. Now I'm just a family man. It's like, that's really, I don't think it's good for me to have like so much focus on growth when my family is right there. It's like, how about focus on the family instead of these other people that are on my phone?
So it's about that aspect of it is about time allocation, spending more time with your wife and daughter versus that time needed to grow. Is there also a component of like hyper fame and what that lifestyle would look like, or like what privacy would look like, what like safety risks would look like for your family?
Yeah, 100%.
And then the other element, and what's very interesting, a couple weeks ago I was back in New York City. I was coaching Gary for a few workouts in person, and I was walking down like, I don't know, somewhere near Penn Station, on the west side of Manhattan. And this guy's like, I got a white t-shirt on, I got my headphones in, I'm walking this way, this guy's walking this way, and he's like, Mike. And I'm like, do I know? Like, do I recognize? Because I get recognized like twice a year at this point. And I was like, what's up, man? Like, I wasn't sure if I had met him before or not. He's like, Cooper, big fan of your YouTube. Like, it's been 4 years. Like, you got to get posting again. Where have you been? Like, really, really good, like, funny dude. He's like, yeah, I've been following for a long time. And it was a very, like, it didn't do anything for me.
Interesting.
It felt like a friend. Like it literally felt like I was bumping into a friend on the street and like talking to him. That's awesome. Like, appreciate you saying hi. Like, whereas in 2015, 2016, if I got recognized, and I'm embarrassed to say this, I'd be like, I'm the man. Like I'm awesome. Like, people know me. Literally, those were like thoughts in my head. And I don't know if it's just age and like growing up and learning or realizing that like, I don't know what necessarily has changed, but my desire, and it hasn't been there for a long time, but like that was a real moment where I was like, oh, I really like being recognized, having any degree of micro fame isn't interesting to me at all. And it was almost relieving that that isn't, that part is dormant in me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that interaction did not in any way, shape, or form light any spark for you to get back to making content.
The opposite.
Yeah.
Literally No. Let me try and articulate this. What that interaction did was it didn't touch my ego even 1%. Not even 1% did I like feel good that I got, literally not even 1%. And I know for many reasons that I don't want fame, that being one of them. The fact that didn't do anything for me actually made me more likely and more excited about making more content. Because I don't want that. I don't want that to like feed that creature. But if that creature isn't, I remember someone asking Jordan Peterson about like his rise to fame and how that affects him personally and personal relationships. And he's like, something along the lines of like, I'm in my 50s. I'm like, maybe if I was a younger man, maybe if I was like in a different lifestyle, maybe if I was like, it would affect me. But it's like the accolades and the eyeballs and the praise and everyone going up to him and saying, you changed my life. Like, thank you so much. Like, he was saying that doesn't hit his ego. He thinks because he's just older and I don't know, something about it being a different time in his life.
That is very interesting. So that no, or now that the potential of that creature essentially not living there anymore, living, like, it makes you more excited to make content because you'd be less likely to do it for the validation of from others, and more because you just want to make content around what you want to make.
More because subject I'm interested in, desire to help. Yeah. I mean, financial, like if I wanted to grow on the back end or change anything on the back end, like those are all real motivations. But like feed the ego, no. Which it might be a double-edged sword, because feeding the ego is a very powerful motivator for creating. But
yeah, and it's also like, is it possible to create publicly without letting ego get involved at all? I think there's more of like a continuum, right? And you know, there's a continuum of it, but I don't think it's possible to not have it involved at all, especially when people say things like, even when people say something just super nice, like, your content has changed my life, which is one of the most amazing things someone can say. I think it's basically impossible to not let that affect your ego, even on a small level, right? Like there's no way that like that has zero impact on you.
We'll see.
And by you, I'm not saying you, I'm saying in general, everybody, like the proverbial you.
I would have flat out agreed with you 2 months ago. This interaction made me, who knows? I think there definitely is, especially in relation to like, growth rates and ability to, the feedback loops of various comments, engagements, etc. But
yeah,
time will tell. But that was a positive data point. So fame is not something that you're interested in, which is another reason for having less of a focus on growth right now and more of a desire on depth with current audience and doing things you're interested in, spending time with your family.
Yeah, exactly. It's also why I'm back on YouTube every week and doing more long form videos. It was funny. Someone said the other day, I was doing a Q&A and I did like, tell me something you disagree with me on. And someone jokingly wrote, they're like, I disagree with the length of your YouTube videos, basically saying like your YouTube videos are way too long. And I actually answered, I was like, that's by design, because I don't want to build a huge audience that only expects or just expects short form content. I would rather have a smaller audience of people who watch an hour YouTube video than have a bigger audience of people who struggle to watch a 60-second reel. Mm-hmm. And I think that mindset, being less about the numbers and views and being more about the depth within the people who really do value what you're saying, is super powerful. Not just from like a mental and emotional health standpoint, but also from a business perspective. This is like why we talk about articles and why our main form of content is a podcast. It's because it's not about the vanity metrics that really make the biggest difference on your business. It's really about like, how many people do you have that are willing to spend a long time listening to you and hearing what you have to say. It's like, you don't need that many people to do that. And that's you through doing that, I think you just create a small, closer knit community that is much more in tune with your beliefs and thoughts and values, which will, I don't think it's much harder to get famous that way.
But good if that's not the goal.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of, I don't know, Rogan or whatever it is. Like, you could get famous doing that, but it's not very likely. Mm-hmm. It's more like a smaller, closer knit community of people that are just, they love you for you. Mm-hmm. And that's I would rather have that than fame.
Yeah. I actually think by making your videos longer, and you can think of YouTube videos as trying to acquire new audience, basically picking a flashy thumbnail, title, like something that's really has potential to perform well, run the metrics, look at hashtags, like really try and make that video get new people to see your channel. Or, and these definitely overlap, but or you make a video where the sole intent is to educate your current audience, entertain your current audience, like help your current audience. And those are different at times. And one is focused more on growth. The other is focused more on depth.
That's exactly right.
Good episode. I think that was probably the last time we'll play the guessing game to start things off. Or maybe
we can do it again, just with a less obscure exercise that I've never seen you do ever.
Bro, I do it right over here.
Do you?
Yeah. Laying right off the steps.
What size plate?
Not heavy.
5 pound?
No, on extension, a little heavier, a little 10 and a 5.
Oh, wow.
High rep, 15 to 20.
My neck is so stiff from getting choked out at that competition still. Ugh, I need to do more iron neck.
Oh, man.
That you bought me.
That was 10 days ago?
Yeah. My neck is still stiff from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, very much for listening. Weekly uploads. Please leave a 5-star review. It helps us grow the podcast. We will see you soon. Have a great day.
Have a good one.